Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Ric Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. Coast to Coast, This Week in America. The new action-adventure book, The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC, written by D.J. Cotten, is based on a real-life story about a murder within the United States Marine Corps, a story about an unprincipled Marine Corps officer and a respectable Chicago policeman who joined the Marines after being disillusioned with the police department. The former police officer was assigned under the command of the unscrupulous Marine officer. However, a mutual distaste was brewing between the two military personnel soon after. Their loathing led to the murder of one and a court-martial for the other. The author, D.J. Cotten, has acquired a deep interest in psychology as well as criminal justice. He studied criminal justice at Florida Technical College, graduated in 2015. He's currently in his 70s, still loves to write. Shortly after writing this novel, he wrote another titled A Double Murder in Eastern Ohio, which is about a brutal murder of a practical nurse and her patient who was crippled by a debilitating stroke some 8 years earlier. D.J. Cotten, author of The Life and Times of Sergeant Thomas Tom Biway, USMC, our guest on This Week in America. DJ, welcome to the program, sir. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
I love the concept for this book and the new book that you've just written as well, and hopefully we can talk about that at some point as well. Let's talk about this book, The Life and Times. Where did this inspiration, where did this story idea come from?
Well, I saw several movies. One was inspired by Heartbreak Ridge in 1986, and the other is Detective Story in 1951 with Kirk Douglas. Yeah, about policeman, overconscious policeman.
Yes. So this really planted the seed then for this book?
Yes.
How long did it take you to write this, to do the research, the background, to be able to tell the story?
Well, it took me more than 2 years to write the story, so...
And the book is available wherever books are sold. We'll send you to authorreputationpress.com to get information on the book. This book really is unique, and a lot of the reviews say that this book is different. Talk about what makes this book unique.
Well, it's about a conflict between two men. One was a unscrupulous Marine who wanted gratification at any cost, no matter who got hurt. And the other was overconscious Chicago policeman who became disillusioned because he saw the worst criminals get away with literally murder and mayhem.
Yeah, yes. That's certainly the case here. We'll talk about the characters in the book here in a second, but what motivates you coming up with ideas, and in particular the idea for this book? What was it about this that struck you that, like, okay, this really is a story I'd like to look into and quite possibly write about?
Well, it's about narcissism. Some people have no principles.
Well,
that's the thing.
Yeah, you've studied criminology. How do you find that to getting into the criminal mind? What was that like?
Well, I took criminal justice in college and get into the criminal mind, but most criminals are unscrupulous, or they wouldn't be committing crimes.
Let's talk about the characters in the book. Well, let's talk about the title, because the title is unique, and then we'll get into the main characters in the book. How did you come up with the title? The title of the book is The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC. How did you come up with that title?
Oh, I just invented the name, like, Thomas Biway. Yes.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I invented the name because, the family name is Double Gunk. They're German immigrants, back in the 1700s, and they changed the name to Biway, the English equivalent of the name. So that's how I came up with the name Biway.
Interesting. Besides the story being unique and compelling, the title is as well. What did you have to go through to write this book? Talk about what all went into writing this story.
And when I took his background, I wrote, chapter 3, part 1, and how he was born, his parents' background. His mother was an Irish American, and his father was German descent. And they married, like 1915, and they had about 5 different children. So, and he was the second of 5 children born to the couple. Joseph and Margaret Biway.
Yes.
Yes, and he grew up. Even at a very young age, he grew up and with no scruples. And he went to Catholic school. And when he was 10 years old, he fell in love with a 10-year-old girl, and he tried to make love to her, one day in the side room of the library, and a nun walked in and caught him, and she was crying, and she broke it up and slapped him, about 4 or 5 different times, real hard, humiliating him in front of the girl. So and later on, he was taken to the principal's office. Well, yes, and later than that, he was. He had a belt on my barber strap, and taken to the back in the room again and beaten with by brother Joseph. Yes, and this is how he became to hate monks and nuns and priests.
A little bit of the background that DJ is talking about in his book, the new action adventure thriller, The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC. Book is available, of course, wherever books are sold. I'll direct you to authorreputationpress.com, the publishers, and they'll have information on the book there as well. And you can link onto our website, thisweekinamerica.us. As you were writing this book, talk about the process of writing it. Did you have a strict outline that laid out where you wanted to go as you were writing, or did you sort of take the story where it was going as you were in the process of writing?
Oh, no, I have an outline where it was going, so I planned it ahead of time. Put whatever's in it.
Yes.
Yes. Well, after that, he became act up at a Catholic school. He started writing on the bathroom walls, and finally he was called into the office, and he was questioned about it. And him and this brother superior, they got in an argument, and he was finally expelled from the Catholic school. And he went to a private school. His mother took him to a private. And he was enrolled there, and he fell in with a friend, Buddy Andrushak, and they became very close friends. And they began going out committing crimes together, such as shoplifting and making passes at girls. And finally, Biway, he met a girl in school later on, Judy Shan, and they started having sex. And he had about 4 different girlfriends. The one moved back to reform school, and the second one already had a boyfriend. She got out of school, and the third, she broke up. She went to another younger man, John Clausen, Joyce Buckley, and finally, the 4th girlfriend he had was Virginia Hawkins, who ended up committing suicide. So he had 4 different girlfriends altogether, and finally, shortly after suicide, he went out with his sister Susan, and they went out horseback riding in her uncle's farm. And finally, he raped her, Susan. And and when they got home, she told her father about it, the rape.
Yes.
Yeah, and he called the Utica police. And Tom, the younger brother, Rick, he went in and told him, Susan, my brother Tom hurt me too, and he went to explain how that was done. And Margaret, the mother, she was very angry when she heard Rick explain how he abused him. So they had the police take him away, where he's going to be tried for the rape of his sister. And the judge, decided to give him a choice: go to reform school, join the Army, or join the Navy. And he opted to join the Navy, but the Navy was full, so the Marines did have some vacancies, so he just opted to join the Marines instead. This I became a Marine.
The book is, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Give us the background of this, because this is so important, and the difference in these two that clash in the Marine Corps and a mutual dislike basically from the very beginning. So continue giving us a little bit of background on the man.
No, his class didn't come to 1968, but this is like back in 1935 when he was 16. He joined the Marine Corps. Yes, and he finally had a purpose in his life, and it's happier than he'd ever been, because he didn't have a real direction at home, so except going to life of crime like his brother, like his friend Buddy Andrushak, who was already in reform school for raping a 9-year-old girl. He didn't want to go that way, so he joined the Marine Corps, and he had a purpose in life finally. And by the time he was 22, he made the rank of sergeant in 1941. So during World War II, he became a drill instructor. He wanted to really go into combat in the action, but he was disappointed. But then orders were orders, so he stayed. He did the drill instructor, and this time I met one of the recruits, Lenny, and his wife Agnes. So they became very close friends. But Lenny was killed in Okinawa in 1945, and finally, eventually, Lenny's wife and him married Aggie in 1946, and they had 3 children. Eventually, had 3 children. The first one was Catherine, born in 1947, and the second was Leonard, born in 1950, and the third was Paul, born in 1955. But in 1951, he finally got to go to Korea when the Korean War broke out. And he served in Korea for about 2 years, and he became a hero, as the opening of the book says.
Yes.
Yes. And he was known to kill about 21 men, about three of them with his bare hands. So when he came back in 1953, he came home, but then he found out his son Lenny had died from infantile cirrhosis. And Aggie, she dreaded to tell him that, but she had to. And he became drunk for the next 2 weeks over, so that spoiled his homecoming right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they finally had a third son, Paul, and he died about 2 days later, from the influenza. So they drifted apart, Aggie and him. Finally, Aggie, she went into business, and she was a business partner of Bill Decker, and they became romantically involved, and they married in 1959. And she divorced a Biway, but the divorce was friendly. So, in fact, him and Bill Decker became very close friends. So finally, he went back to Japan to base our commanding men, and he decided, this one man, he decided to court-martial because he had a son, Herman Mentler, and he had him eventually court-martialed for excessive drinking. And the private was dishonorably discharged. He became a broken man. And finally, he met a girl, when he came back to the United States in 1964. She was from Austria, didn't understand English, so he tried to be friendly with her, and she didn't, but she knew what he was up to, so she became more and more apprehensive, and he finally fell in love with her, I think. And finally, she went back to Austria, and she wrote a note to his commanding officer, that day, James Sims, in German, so he had to have the letter translated, in English, so he could understand it. And he was shocked what the letter said. And he became drunk for about 3 days after that. Yes.
Well, it's amazing, the background on the characters in DJ's book. The book is The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC, by DJ Cotten. If you're going to Google that, Cotten is Cotten. Books available wherever books are sold, the usual places. AuthorReputationPress.com is an excellent place to get information on the book. DJ, we've got a couple minutes left in the program. It's fascinating, the background of the main character, Sergeant Tom Biway, USMC. Talk a little bit about the main reason you wrote the book. Why did you decide, okay, this is a story that I need to tell? Why was that important to you?
It's our conflict between two men. And the other character is a nemesis. Officer, his name's Odell Williams, and he joined the Chicago Police Department when he was 20, after he took 2 years of criminal justice in college. And he started as a regular policeman. Then in 1955, there was a vicious attack on a Hispanic girl. Her face was slashed, because she turned down this one man, Will Strobine, and he got very vindictive. And he took a razor and he attacked her one night and slit her face in about 3 different places. And Sergeant Williams was investigating with his friend Kevin Hurley, and he was really upset about it. They finally caught the man who did it, William Strobine, but when he brought him to court, the prosecutor dropped the case because insufficient evidence, because he hated Hispanics in the first place, and he declined to prosecute the man. So the culprit went free.
Well, and this basically what led him to the Marine Corps, right? He fed up with the police department.
Yeah, eventually became fed up with the police department, especially this last time. This a Negro kid, Will Floyd, and he became very vicious too. And finally, one night his friend Robert Thorpe decided to rob the Chinese restaurant. And when they did, they took the money already, but they took this. But William Floyd, he took the Chinese and pushed his face into boiling grease and mutilated them. And this really upset. Later on, when Williams was investigating, he knew who did it, and he was really upset. And he was not going to let him get away with it. Will Floyd. And later, they caught him robbing a supermarket. It's a few miles away. And William Floyd and Thomas Swanson, his partner, he went in there, and Swanson arrested the Floyd, his friend Thorpe. Floyd ran out the back door, and Williams went after him. So when they caught up with him, Williams fired his gun about 4 times, ran out of bullets, and Officer Williams broke both his arms and broke his legs, and he had to be taken to the hospital. So later, the police department, found what he did. They gave him an option: either join the Marine Corps or go to prison, be prosecuted for what he did. So he opted to join the Marine Corps to get our prosecution. So he did. And when he got he was trained, when he got through basic training, he was sent to Vietnam, and he's pushed under the command of Tom Biway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got about
yes.
Yeah, I got about a minute left here. Go ahead, tell us, and you'll take us up to there are 2, and then suddenly there are 1. We won't get to that point. We'll have you read the book for that, but finish up that part of the story.
Well, yeah, that part of the story, he was placed under the command of Tom Biway, and the 2 men, soon developed mutual dislike for one another. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't like the war in Vietnam. They were sent to Vietnam, and Williams, he already knew it was wrong, being in Vietnam. And one day he told Biway about it. He said, "We shouldn't really be here because this war is all wrong." And Biway turned against him, decided hate him more. So anyway, meanwhile, they went out on different missions, after they left the base. And one day, Biway decided, keep him out in this village, and had a mission. He had a mission, a Jesuit missionary. and And he slapped this priest, after there was any Viet Cong in the village. And the priest didn't, he was French, and he didn't understand what Biway was asking him. And Biway decided to slap him,
Yeah.
Then he went to the convent, and he looked over the nuns, most Vietnamese nuns. But one French nun, the Mother Superior, La Mère Therese, he overlooked her, and he became kind of glassy-eyed. But he had about 6 men in there with him, so they left. Then he shot the 13-year-old Vietnamese kid, but they left, and then he told men this is a report of the Viet Cong, which he was not. And they returned to base, but Biway later that night, he turned the command over to Alphonse Miller, his corporal, and he left again for the village that night. And he brought like a fifth of vodka with him, and he started drinking. Then when he came to the village, he beat up the priest, Father Joseph, and then he went to the convent. And this time he took the Mère Therese, took her into the bedroom and stripped her of her habit, naked, and then he began to perform oral sex on her. And then he raped her about 3 different times.
Well, this is, unfortunately, we're out of time, but the book continues the story between these two. And as I say, there are two mutual dislike for each other. There ends up being one. So I will leave it to you, the reader, to enjoy the story and figure out what happens at the end. The book is The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC. The author is our guest, DJ Cotten. That's Cotten. Book available wherever books are sold. I'll suggest authorreputationpress.com. His new book, A Double Murder in Eastern Ohio, sounds exciting as well. DJ, thank you so much for sharing the story from the new book, The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Well, thank you, too. I'm sorry we ran out of time. I was going to tell more of the story, but thank you anyway.
Well, we could hopefully do that again to continue the story. The stories unfold in the book, and you'll have a chance to read it and enjoy it by getting a copy of the book, The Life and Times of Sergeant Joseph Thomas Tom Biway, USMC. DJ Cotten has been our guest on the program. Information, of course, on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, Associate Producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, Segment Producer. Ben Watson, Webmaster. Otto Bechet, Director of Engineering and TV Production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, Executive Producer of This Week in America.